Okay, so it's 11 here in Delhi. We'll probably do an hour and a half, something like that. And there'll be some explanation, which I'm basing on a very traditional text. The root text, really, you could say in many ways, of the Gelugpa tradition, to which Lama Zopa Rinpoche belonged and to which Tushita Center belongs, you could say. Lama Tsongkhapa's great treatise on the stages of the path to enlightenment, the Lamrim Chenmo, the short but very precise and informative chapter on relying on the teacher. And then also some excerpts from Jamgon Kongtrul Lodro Taye, who was a great master of the 19th century, a non-sectarian teacher in the sense he combined teachings from all of the schools of Tibetan Buddhism. That was mainly a Kagyu Lama, very great teacher. So some of his verses from his very, very powerful evocative text, Devotion That Pierces the Heart, and then also some input from Dzongsa Rinpoche, his work Not for Happiness, which is his guide to the preliminary practices, one of which is Guru devotion, one of the preliminary practices. So we'll have a few different flavors, you could say, of approaches to this very, very important topic. Okay, and before that, let's have some motivation and posture, followed by some quiet time together, and then we'll launch into the topic for this morning. So please be comfortable and bring your attention to your body, your posture. The body is what we have right now. That's our vehicle. And it's one of the best ways to begin to slow down and pay attention and bring ourselves to some kind of rest, as well as maintaining and developing awareness, which is in some ways, you could say, the root of the path. Mind and its awareness, or awareness is mind. Without being aware, then we fall into all kinds of mischief and distraction. So please be aware of your body as it contacts the chair, cushion, the floor, wherever, and your legs, your feet, your arms by the side of the body. A sense of stillness is good, as well as a sense of being at ease and relaxed. You're not being forced to do this. There's a sense of being relaxed about it and natural. But not so much that we are loose in the sense of being drowsy or too careless, the sense of being attentive, vigilant. And we keep the posture as much as we can, upright and dignified, which is a very good psychological reminder to ourselves and others that we're going to be a full, sane human being who's not hiding from themselves or others, and confident, that's important. But also open to the world, open to others. The posture demonstrates that sense of not being easily distracted from the journey. Bring your attention to the breath in the body. As we breathe in and out, there's a sense of breath entering and leaving. And we can be more precise about it and focus, if we wish, on the nostrils, if the breath enters and leaves. And we remember as we sit that although our experience is very much one's own in many ways, it's hard to really get into the mind of another person and understand what they're going through. But we do have enough intelligence to know how much is happening in the world, in the sense, what is happening for others, for other human beings, animals, so forth. And what is happening is pretty much what is happening for us, except on a larger scale. So there is hope and fear, there's expectation, there's some happiness, there's seems to be a lot of sorrow and dissatisfaction in the world. A lot of sheer, tremendous hardship and conflict, deep, deep anguish and suffering, loss, losing one's country, one's home, one's children, one's parents, being hungry, thirsty, uncared for, whatever. So much suffering in the world. We're aware of that. And also people's desire for happiness. And it's sort of sometimes painful to watch how how beings are searching for happiness. How ephemeral, how quickly it passes. How nothing that we seem to engage in gives us the final sort of satisfaction that we wish for. However, there is tremendous inspiration in the fact that the journey is a constant process, and we have the intelligence and the openness and the warmth to continue on that journey, because we have at root, we have an awakened state of mind. We have a Buddha nature, a basic goodness, which will one day manifest completely. There is temporary obscuration or covering up of that basic goodness, but it's always there. Always there. So when we motivate and reflect on suffering, it is never, ever with a sense of despair or the sense that, well, that's it then, better to end one's life or whatever. It's not like that at all. When we reflect on it, we generate the wish how wonderful it would be if beings were free of that, and oneself can do so much for others, so much. So we're going to engage in that. This is the motivation that I'm going to awaken my Buddha nature. I'm going to attain awakening in order to be of some service to others, benefit others. So this is the sublime mind of awakening, bodhicitta, the awakening heart, the awakening mind. His Holiness recently, a few days ago, described it as a kind of mind that has given him tremendous inspiration. Not that he claims to possess it, but just studying and reflecting, meditating on it, says gives him so much inspiration, and especially courage, gives him courage to deal with whatever life has in store. That tremendous compassionate heart of Bodhicitta gives His Holiness courage to face anything, everything. So may we also generate that mind, the causes for that mind, which are the remembering the kindness of others, generating love and compassion, starting with ourselves, appreciating ourselves. And appreciating that what we go through, others go through. What I can do, others can do. So others, tremendous respect for others can arise in those who understand that everybody has the Buddha nature. Even people who are acting very badly right now. So we can spend some time reflecting on this, on the motivation, and then after a little while we can by ourselves start a short-term stabilizing practice with the breath, if that's appropriate, for 6 or 7 minutes. Be with the breath, let yourself relax and let go with the out breath while maintaining a sense of uprightness, awareness, a quiet sort of dignity that comes from being still and quiet. Okay, we'll sit for a little while quietly together. So with the passing of Kyabje Lama Zopa Rinpoche, who was probably born in 1946, high up in the Everest region, about 3 hours walk from the capital of the Sherpa region, from Namche Bazar, 3 hours northwest from there, on an old trade route to Tibet. With Rinpoche's passing on the 13th of April, we've lost a great guide, great teacher, great Lama for many of us, and someone who has inspired many thousands worldwide, even perhaps people who didn't regard him as their actual teacher, but through seeing some videos or reading his books and so forth, hearing stories about Rinpoche, they've been inspired. And I've had the good fortune to have met Rinpoche in 1979 and been associated and trying to do his work, some of his work for the centers since then. So I thought in this session, we can use it to investigate what the Guru means in the Nalanda tradition, which is the tradition that the Tibetans kept alive. So what does that mean? What is the Guru? Who is the Guru? What are the qualifications of the Guru? And we'll also be looking at what the qualification of the disciple is, just very briefly. And then perhaps some short anecdotes and sharings, because we have here Jan also, Jan Petha from Australia. She has many dealings with Rinpoche, who's helped her and her family a lot. And so then that'll easily fill an hour and a half or more, and we may need to continue later. And of course, for our organization, we will be engaging in practices and pujas until the 49th day after Rinpoche's passing, which that means until the 31st of May, where they have big pujas especially at the Kopan monastery in Nepal, where Rinpoche passed away, and which was you could say his monastery, his main seat, something he had promised to build for the people of the Sherpa region that he was born in. That was something he had promised, and which was brought to fruition through also the efforts of his guru, Lama Thubten Yeshe, who was the founder of the organization we are part of, which we are affiliated with, like that. So let's see how it goes. I'll try and make it not too academic, but there's some wonderful material for those who want to investigate further in a marvelously concise and form from the great Tsongkhapa, who was the founder of the Gelugpa lineage, who lived from 1367 to 1419. Great teacher, and it's a marvel to read his work because he's so erudite and he quotes from all the sutras and Indian masters in his majestic text, the great treatise on the stages of the path to enlightenment, which is one of the root texts of the Gelugpa school. So it's now very well translated into English, that text, thanks to the efforts of 15 or 16 translators in the Lamrim Chenmo Translation Committee. So this is something marvelous that the Western students have done for us, translated this remarkable text, basic text, which in his praise to it, by the way, I'm just trying to encourage us to read this text, to get hold of it. Bob Thurman, the very dynamic and wonderful Western translator, teacher, president of Tibet House in New York, says that this text has for 600 years been benefiting Tibetans and Mongolians, and now Westerners and Indian people. And there have been translations into Russian, into Chinese, and so forth, but it's only into English in recent decades. And he has great praise for this text. And if you begin to read it, you will see how it is really remarkable. Not always easy, but Lama Tsongkhapa brings together so many sources, and it's very direct and very eloquent. So in his chapter on relying on the teacher, on the guru, he talks about how to rely on the guru, what are the characteristics of a teacher, of the student who relies on the teacher, how the student should rely upon the teacher, how to rely on your thought, how to rely on your practice, the benefits of relying on the teacher, the faults of not relying on the teacher, and so forth. It's all there in this in a short chapter 4. So in about 22 pages, Lama Tsongkhapa covers this. And of course, there are vast commentaries on it, but the root is there. So we'll begin to look at it. I don't think we'll finish it, but I would say Rinpoche's life, what appeared to be his characteristics in his life, embodied the perfect Mahayana Guru and Vajrayana Guru, guide. So Tsongkhapa starts by saying that we attain Buddhahood through completing all the levels of the path, okay? From starting with perfect human rebirth and meditating on the various topics and so forth, on bodhicitta, on emptiness and so forth. And all of this, he says, all of it is contingent, is dependent upon the guru, upon the guide, upon the teacher. The guru is the root, he says, from which they all arise. Here he's actually quoting from a scripture. The guru is the source and creator from which the qualities of a Buddha are developed in ourselves. The guru increases them. They depend upon the guru. The guru is their cause. So it's obviously going to have to understand also what is guru. What does guru mean? For attaining freedom, another quote, this is to encourage us. These texts always have quotations from the great Tibetan and especially Indian masters, whom they revered so much, which then inspires the disciple to go more into the text and understand that particular topic. And then again, the benefits of it and the demerits of not doing it and so forth. That makes us really want to study and put it in practice. He says, he's quoting a Tibetan Lama, Bodhawa, it's sufficient to learn the activities of this life by watching other people. Say, learning a job or, cooking or something. You can learn by watching others. And you will not learn those things well without an instructor. Likewise, without a guru, spiritual guru, how could we possibly succeed in traveling to a place where we've never been, having just been reborn from a miserable place? We've just been reborn from the lower realms, you could say. Or we are at least in a situation, even as humans, where we suffer so much. So, of course, we're going to have to rely on somebody when we're going to a destination we have never been to before, which is hopefully a destination of Buddhahood, at least the Bodhisattva levels and then Buddhahood. It's like an unknown region to us. It's a very sublime unknown region to us. Of course, we're going to need a guide. It's like if you've been in the plains and you want to go high into the mountains, on very tricky paths, high altitude and so forth, one needs a guide, right? So similarly, I suppose, when we're traveling from our sort of almost a wretched existence, you could say, full of hope and fear and attachment and aversion and so forth, we need to get to a place which is free of all those attributes, then of course we need a guide. And we need someone who's done it, you see, someone who's been there. So what are the defining characteristics of the teacher who's to be relied upon? Okay, it's very important for us to know. We can't just rely on anybody. And as we know, in this world, so many so-called teachers take their students for a ride, exploit them, and so forth. There's plenty of stories. I don't need to go into that. So here we're talking about somebody who can guide us on the Mahayana, you know, and of course also then later Vajrayana, the adamantine quick vehicle, Tantrayana. So this is quoting from Maitreya's text, the ornament of the Mahayana Sutras, Mahayana Sutra Alankar, a very, very famous text, which is taught in the monasteries. Rely on a Mahayana teacher, which means someone who has bodhicitta. Don't forget that. Mahayana teacher doesn't just mean someone who belongs to the tradition by wearing certain robes or saying they're a follower of Shakyamuni or Tsongkhapa, but someone who's actually developed bodhicitta. That would be the fully qualified Mahayana teacher, someone who's developed that extraordinary mind aimed at Buddhahood in order to benefit all sentient beings. So rely on a Mahayana teacher who is disciplined, serene, thoroughly pacified. So disciplined, it kind of means at least the basic discipline is there, but serene, I think, means whose mind is pacified by calm abiding, the shine, shamatha practice, and thoroughly pacified, totally pacified by that, and which means I think also being qualified by the realization of emptiness, which totally pacifies the disturbing emotions and so forth. That Mahayana teacher should have good qualities, surpassing those of the students, should be energetic, wealth of scriptural knowledge, should possess loving concern, should have thorough knowledge of reality, and skill in instructing disciples. You can see there's so many qualifications, not enough to have great compassion and wisdom. One has to have skill in instructing disciples. And as we know, there are all kinds of people, all kinds of disciples who come in front of a Mahayana guru, you know, all kinds of people. And they need different kinds of methods and instructions and so forth, you know. So the Mahayana teacher has to be incredibly skilled. And this teacher should have abandoned, you know, losing dispiritedness. I've never heard that word. Lacking, I think it means you must never lose your spirit to teach and to help. They should not get, you know, discouraged, tired, because some students might be very difficult to tame, you know, difficult to explain things to. Some students might be very, and I know, I can tell you, I've seen what's happened. If you work with an organization for 40 years, then you see a lot of things. So I've seen how some students behave and oneself behaves, and the teacher deals with all of us. The teacher, Rinpoche and Lama Yeshe, they dealt with all of us. They knew how to help all of us in some way. Of course, some people are so off the wall that they couldn't be helped very much in this life, but even they would have been affected by the tremendous energy and compassion and wisdom of the teachers, although sometimes it seems like some of us don't change much. But we've all been affected. So thus Maitreya is saying that the student must rely on this kind of teacher who has these 10 qualities. Because it said, and this is a very, very powerful statement, those who haven't disciplined themselves have no basis for disciplining others. Therefore, gurus who intend to discipline others' minds must first have disciplined their own. So how should they have been disciplined? It's not helpful for them to just have done any old practice and then have the result designated as a good quality of knowledge. They need a way to discipline the mind that accords with the general teachings of the Buddha. The 3 precious trainings are definitely such a way. Therefore, Maitreya has indicated them with these 3 terms. He's indicated the higher training of moral discipline with being disciplined, the higher training of concentration, with, this is a samadhi, with the word serene, and the thoroughly pacified in the definition we just had refers to pragya, wisdom. So shil, samadhi, pragya, disciplined, serene, thoroughly pacified. That's how they translated it, the Tibetan English translation. So the ethical discipline, this is the bridle for undisciplined disciples, like a bridle on a horse. Undisciplined people, like most of us, we need ethical discipline. So the teacher has to have that. Otherwise, of course, the senses pursue improper objects like wild horses. They lead you to engage in unsuitable actions. Just as a trainer tames a wild horse with a good bridle, so too teachers learn ethical discipline to control their senses and to turn towards suitable actions with great effort. Hence, teachers have disciplined their minds, which are like wild horses. Serene refers to accomplished training of meditative concentration, which is a state in which the mind remains peacefully withdrawn. This is achieved by means of reliance on mindfulness and the vigilance in ethical discipline, turning away from wrongdoing, engaging in good activities. And thoroughly pacified refers to having accomplished the training of wisdom, specifically by analyzing the meaning of reality in dependence upon that meditative serenity, the serene mind, wherein the mind becomes serviceable. See, the mind becomes serviceable through serenity, through the taming it with meditation, with samadhi, with concentration. It becomes tamed and serviceable, meaning it can then be used in whatever way we want. So a qualified Mahayana guru must have done this, made their mind serviceable, and so then it can engage in not only meditation on emptiness and penetrate the deepest levels of reality, but can then also become serviceable in helping others. Teachers must have the good qualities of scriptural learning. Therefore, wealth of scriptural knowledge refers to being erudite concerning the scriptural collections of the Vinaya, the Sutras, and the Abhidhamma. So therefore, you see, when a Mahayana guru gives a teaching, gurus of the Mahayana, they must have the ability to cause their students to have a deep understanding. You know, it's like His Holiness the Dalai Lama, sometimes he can just give a short teaching and it has a profound effect, at least at that time, on the mind. You know, of course, it's up to us to keep that effect going, but it's like when His Holiness spoke for 20 minutes the day before yesterday, it had a profound effect on many people because it was so clear. But not only that, and not only from obviously someone with a lot of knowledge, but it was coming from someone who had deep realization of what they were talking about and tremendous compassion for everybody there, for all the students. So therefore, it came across as something very powerful, which could actually, as it says here, cause the student's mind to change, to have a deep understanding. They must demonstrate what is helpful at a time when the teaching is on the wane, what is useful at the present time. Knowledge of reality, in the definition that we had, refers to special training in wisdom, selflessness of phenomena. So it's best if the teachers have a perception of reality, but if they don't have it, it's acceptable for them at least to know reality through scripture, scriptural reasoning, scriptures and reasoning. So the teachers should be able to explain quite well, at least intellectually, what emptiness means, and cause the students to have understanding of that level and to hopefully have some inspiration to go deeper into the topic. So of course, while I'm saying all this, I'm implying that Lama Zopa Rinpoche had all these qualities, definitely had all these qualities. Then there's an amazing, well, all of these quotes are so good that he brings up from the tradition. This is from verses about friends, Mitra Varga. He quotes from Mitra Varga by saying, people degenerate by relying on those who are inferior to themselves. If they rely on equals, they stay the same. By relying on those superior, they attain excellence. Therefore, rely on those who are superior to yourself. if you rely on whomever is superior, thoroughly pacified and endowed with ethical discipline and exceeding wisdom, then you will become superior even to those who are superior. So then he's quoting Puchungwa, who says, who was a great Lama, when I hear the stories of excellent persons, I emulate them. I imitate the elders of the Radreng monastic community. This is the purpose of the so-called Namtar, or spiritual biographies of great teachers, some of which we have here at Tushita and at my home, of great teachers, their lives, what they did, what they studied, what they taught, the hardships they went through. And Lama Zopa Rinpoche was always talking about the hardships one is going to have to go through if one is authentic about the path. And he himself went through tremendous hardships, losing his home, his country, in a sense that he was also in Tibet for some time. He had tremendous illness, sickness, TB. Then he had continuing ill health throughout his life, and then a stroke. And of course, all of the work that he did, but without ever any kind of complaint. And he just carried on till a pretty ripe age of 77. Yeah. So anyway, we should emulate such people. Milarepa story is one of the great stories that are there in the Tibetan tradition, but also one could read the story of Naropa and the story of Marpa, all of the Kagyu lineage, and then all the other lineages. Tsongkhapa's life story, so many others. The great Machig Ladron, the female practitioner who attained Buddhahood. So many stories. Their life stories are so amazing. As far as Marpa goes, I want to mention his because he says something amazing. He is said to have said something amazing in his biography, because he came to India 3 times to meet his gurus in India from Tibet. He was a farmer and he had a family and so forth, but he came here 3 times to collect teachings, to receive teachings from the Indian teachers. And in his in the life of Marpa, which you will find easily online and so forth, by the Nalanda Translation Committee, he says, 3 times I went to India. 3 times I risked my life and limb to go to India because, he says, I was born in an inferior place, meaning Tibet, and the place I went to, India, is supreme. That's what he referred to India as, supreme. And so therefore he had no hesitation in risking life and limb to come to India, to the feet of his Indian gurus like Maitripa and so forth, in order to receive the holy dharma. He said the teachings and the initiations and so forth, and take that lineage back to Tibet and become an incredible teacher himself, and to pass on his lineage to great beings like Milarepa, whom he knew exactly how to teach, how to tame, how to get Milarepa to purify all of his negativity very, very quickly, and then give him the teachings with which he attained enlightenment at the end of his life. So Marpa was that kind of being. When one of his Indian gurus, Maitripa, passed away, he was so sad. He was so sad, Marpa, because he said now they can't think of anybody left in India who really understands the teachings at the deepest level, who really has the authentic teachings in their heart. Maitripa, he reckoned at that time, so we're talking 11th century, he was one of the greatest teachers, according to Marpa, and he was devastated when he heard that Maitripa had died. But of course, he carried on the teachings and passed them on, and we are benefiting from them now. So he's not someone who just wallowed in despair and gave up. He carried on the lineage of Maitripa and his other Indian gurus' teaching. But my point is, he had, reading his life story, one becomes very inspired. One can become very inspired and also more appreciative, here, especially for Indian people, more appreciative of our wisdom tradition. Tibetans came all the way here, crossing the Himalayas, eating the food which was revolting to them, perhaps, risking life and limb, getting sick, getting TB, and so on and so forth, undergoing hardships, all of which you can read about in the life of Martha. So, being disciplined, serene, thoroughly pacified, surpassing the students, these are the good qualities that one obtains for oneself. Okay, this is one way of looking at the qualities of the guru. The remaining qualities, being energetic, skill in instruction, possessing loving concern, abandoning dispiritedness, are the good qualities that help a teacher look after others, right? Quote here, very famous quote, which is there in the famous film on His Holiness Kundun by Scorsese. Sages do not wash away sins with water. They do not clear away beings' sufferings with their hands. They do not transfer their own knowledge to others. They liberate by teaching the truth of reality. So the Buddha's Tsongkhapa says, perform no action such as washing away others' sins with water, other than looking after others by accurately showing them the path. Or one could add by also an incredible example of their lives, how they behave, how they take care of their disciples, how they don't sleep at night, how they engage in constant pujas and actions for others. For me, small, large things to small things, like when I would accompany Lama Zopa Rinpoche to Gaya railway station for him to catch the train back to whatever, Delhi or wherever. And then he would instruct Roger, his disciple, to take out a pair of brand new socks from the bag, to give to me, because I would have holes in my socks. So, the guru not only giving us instructions, but taking care of the disciples' feet, and, just being like a big mother as well as, teacher, guru. So this is it, you see, the looking after others, skill in instructions, possessing loving concern, the teacher teaches with the motivation of love and compassion, doesn't look for gain, respect, and so on. Bodawa said to Jenawa, son of Limo, that must be where he's from or something, or his father's name, however many teachings I've explained, I've never taken pleasure in even a single thanks, because all beings are helpless. So a teacher should be like this. Isn't that wonderful? You see beings as helpless, as suffering. But why would you want thanks? Why would a doctor want thanks from a delirious patient? It's just the doctor does what has to be done. So energetic refers to constant delight in others' welfare. As abandoned dispiritedness refers to never being tired of giving an explanation again and again, to bearing the hardships of explaining. So we used to feel it's a hardship to listen to Lama Zopa Rinpoche in the tent at Kapan in the early days, going on and on and on about death and impermanence, suffering, the hell realms. But you could look at it, in this way as well, that actually he's engaging in the hardship of explaining to us thick-skulled people these things again and again, because he knows that if we only repeated it once, we would think, oh, well, yeah, he's just saying it, but he would go on and on. And when you're missing your break, your PP break or whatever, because the Lama's teaching about suffering, then you actually begin to remember what he's talking about. And at the end of those teachings for myself, back in 1980, I was afraid of traveling back to India because I felt it's so easy to die on the way, because it would have been an overland journey for me. And Rinpoche had taught so much about death and impermanence that I was actually, honestly, afraid to travel back. But now, of course, I have no fear whatsoever. And I just take airplanes and do whatever without any kind of fear. So that kind of temporal realization has unfortunately gone. But at that time, due to Rinpoche's kindness and going on and on and on about it, taking the hardship of teaching the ignorant disciples again and again, that is the hardship of explaining. Bodhava said of one of his teachers, loving concern, knowledge of reality, the three trainings are foremost. my master isn't very learned with regard to all the scriptures, and he can't withstand dispiriting circumstances. Therefore, he does not even thank those who help him. However, since he has these 5 qualities, he's helpful to whomever is in his presence. I'm not quite sure I understand that. Then he speaks about a teacher who does not have any skill in speech at all. Even when giving a single dedication of an offering, he can only think that only none of these people here really understand what I'm saying. But because he has those 5 qualities of loving concern, knowledge of reality, 3 higher trainings, being energetic, having loving concern, and so forth, because he has those qualities, he is helpful to whoever enters his presence. I mean, it's like also, if you know, forget Dharma context, but if there's someone, I don't know, your grandmother, grandfather, somebody who has tremendous loving kindness, then you remember that as a child, you receive that from a parent or grandparent, then that's something very nourishing and useful, isn't it? Which can help us even when we're much older. So those qualities, just being a very loving, kind person, is very useful in its own right. Yeah. Then the guru who helps you to achieve liberation is the foundation of your deepest aspiration. Therefore, you who wish to rely on a guru should understand these defining characteristics, strive to seek someone who has them. It's a degenerate time. It's difficult to find a teacher who has these good qualities. Therefore, what should we do if we don't find such a teacher is a question. So then, there's a long quote from the Tantra requested by Subahu, which Tsongkhapa quotes. He says, you know, all these qualities that are mentioned in the teachings, basically he's saying that the guru should have, since they are very rare, you know, of course, the guru should have faith in the 3 jewels. They should be, you know, they should be focused. They should be from a good lineage. But since a lot of these things are also very rare in this degenerate age of strife, and here he's talking about something even so many centuries ago, it's worse now, then mantra practitioners should rely on an assistant who has at least 1/2, 1/4, or at least 1/8 of these qualities. So it's the same with respect to the guru. One should have at least a minimum of 1/8 of all the defining characteristics set forth. Yeah, but it's a bit sad when they say that, because it means we are really in a very degenerate time. You know, when the guru only has to have 15% or less of, you know, the qualities that are really. But I would say Lama Zopa Rinpoche had all the qualities, had 100% more. Now, what are okay? It's all very well to talk about the Lama all the time, but the Lama or the Guru, and Lama means Guru, by the way, in Tibetan Lama, which is their translation of Guru. It means literally someone who is heavy with knowledge, heavy in knowledge, Lama, but has the same meaning as Guru, maybe. So, what are the defining characteristics of the student? I hope we're not being, are we getting bored? Okay, let's have some feedback. Sorry, it's been an hour. I'm going on and on. If you're bored, please put your hand up. There will be time for discussion soon. Please, anybody bored? Be honest. Yes, Miriam, you're bored? The left hand went up. Oh, okay. Please continue. Okay. Jan, you know all this. Sorry. No, not bored. Okay. Anyway, this is the great Lama Tsongkhapa. I'm quoting from our lineage, our betters, our superiors. Okay, what should we have as students? So we always talk about what the teacher should have. What should we have? Should we just not think that, oh, well, you know, we can do anything. We don't need anything. We just want from the guru, you know. like, as the Dalai Lama says, we shouldn't be like a person who is like a dog running after meat. You know, we shouldn't be like a dog running after meat when we run after the guru. Initially, our guru should be our own intelligence and authentic literature. So, of course, we're, Christian and I and Ajirji and other people here, we have had the benefit of not only authentic texts and some intelligence ourselves, I guess, but also these great gurus. Aryadeva, who was the great disciple of Nagarjuna, says in his famous 400 stanzas that it is said that one who is non-partisan, meaning unbiased, intelligent, and diligent is a suitable vessel for listening to the teachings. The good qualities of the instructor do not appear otherwise, nor do those of fellow listeners. So we will not imbibe the good qualities of the guru or the instructor if we are not non-partisan, intelligent, and diligent. If we have them, we're suitable to listen. If we have these qualities, then the good qualities of the instructor will appear to us as good qualities. The point being, if our mind is dirty and doesn't have these qualities, the person even teaching us, we will find faults immediately in our teacher. This is something, right? Like having a dirty mirror, everything outside looks dirty. So if we haven't got this state of mind, we'll not benefit from a guru. Non-partisan, all of this can be, of course, commented on, and of course, Tsongkhapa does that. So with respect to the three characteristics, non-partisan means not to take sides. If you're partisan, you'll be obstructed by your bias, and you won't recognize good qualities. Because of this, you will not discover the meaning of good teachings. Bhava Vivek states in his Heart of the Middle Way, Madhyamaka Hirdaya, through taking sides, the mind is distressed, whereby you will never know peace. Wow, isn't that amazing? As a comment on international politics, through taking sides, the mind is distressed. Thereby, you'll never know peace. You'll be rushing around, figuring out how to, support your side. And of course, all the time regarding the other side is the enemy. Taking sides is to have attachment to your own religious system, hostility towards others. Look for it in your own mind, then discard it. For it says in the Bodhisattva vows of liberation, Bodhisattva Pratimoksha, after giving up your assertions, respect and abide in the texts of the abbot and master. So then somebody asks, isn't it just enough to have that characteristic? Then the reply from Tsongkhapa is, through non-partisan, though non-partisan, if you don't have the mental force to distinguish between correct paths of good explanation and counterfeit paths of false explanation, you are not fit to listen to the teachings. Therefore, you must have the intelligence that understands both of these. By this account, you will give up what is unproductive and adopt what is productive. And are these two enough? The questioner says. Well, though having both of these, if like the drawing of a person who is listening to the teachings, you are inactive, like a drawing of a person, then you are not fit to listen to the teaching. Therefore, you must have great diligence, energy, determination to listen. Chandrakirti's commentary says, after adding the three qualities of the student to the two qualities of being focused and having respect for the teaching and its instructor, then there would be a total of 5 qualities that the student should have. And they can be reduced to 4: striving very diligently at the teaching, focusing the mind well when listening to the teaching, having great respect for the teaching and the instructor, and discarding bad explanations and retaining good explanations. However, we're not mainly talking about the student here, although it does make sense, because if we think, oh, well, Lama Zopa Rinpoche has been my teacher for 44 years, why aren't I a Buddha yet? Well, mate, it's my problem. It's not his problem. If I'd been this kind of student, I would be, a much more realized person. So therefore, it's not enough to know the qualities of Guru. We have to, if I'd had these qualities, then I'd have seen more the greatness of the Guru and received more benefit from the connection with such a great guru. When those with untrained minds still see faults in the teacher, they will lose faith. So therefore, those who are beginners should have few teachers. More teachers you have right now, the more faults you will see, more confused we will become. So we need to be cautious. In general, a teacher is someone from whom you receive the teacher's kind words. Specifically, a teacher is someone who skillfully guides you with the instructions of all the paths in their entirety. So how to rely on the teacher? In thought, which means with faith, and with respect. And we then respect by remembering the teacher's kindness. We need to be like a dutiful child, which means to submit to the Guru's will, not just to do what we want all the time, to give up our own ego and self-assertiveness and do what the Guru asks. We should have an attitude like a diamond, to make that relationship very strong, not to be swayed by bad friends and demons and the like, not be fickle and just change our gurus and reject them when something they're telling us is difficult for us and so forth. An attitude like the earth, meaning take on all the responsibilities the Guru gives you, be like the earth, which supports everything. Not to become dispirited of any of the responsibilities asked of you. And it can be quite easy to become that way if one is not careful. So one should regard all the work he gives us as like a privilege, not a burden. Then how to assume responsibilities. There's a whole thing on this. To be like a worldly servant, means to perform even the worst tasks without wavering. For example, they give the great Atisha and his translators sometimes had to stay in Sung area, in an area of sewage and mud. Geshe Dontompa took off all his clothes, cleaned up the filth with his own clothes. He covered the area with dry white earth from where no one knows. He even built a stone and earth mandala in front of the elder Atisha. And the elder Atisha said, Are, I had one like you in India too. In other words, such a great disciple like you who gave up even their own good clothes to create a nice space for his Guru. We should have an attitude like a sweeper, means to illuminate completely all pride, feeling of superiority, consider yourself lower than the Guru. Geshe Donpoma said, the water of good qualities does not collect on the heights of pride. In the planting time of spring, look at whether the green growth is coming from the high mountain peaks or from the low valley. The fourth is an attitude like a foundation, means to take on even heavy responsibilities with pleasure. Fifth attitude, like a dog, means not to get angry even when the Guru may pretend to despise or berates you. Every time Don Lungpa met with Geshe Lasso, Don Lungpa would berate him. And he said, and Lasso's disciple then said to him, the master hates us, both teacher and student. To which Lasso said, do you think that he is berating me? To me, it seems like I'm being blessed by Heruka each time he does this. So that's amazing devotion. The Guru is berating you or scolding you. You're taking it like a great blessing, seeing the real Guru. The Guru is the Buddha. Even if the instructors, the Gurus, seem to despise or ignore those who want their teachings, don't challenge them. Persist tirelessly and respectfully. Diligently seek the teachings. This is from the Perfection of Wisdom in 8,000 Lines. Sixth is an attitude like a ferry boat, means not to tire of deeds for your Guru's sake, no matter how many times you engage in your Guru's activities. Then train in faith. Faith is the prerequisite of all good qualities, a procreator of them like a mother who then protects and increases them. It clears away doubts, frees you from the four rivers of ignorance, attachment, craving, and wrong views, and establishes you in the prosperous city of happiness and goodness. Faith cuts through gloom and clarifies the mind. It eliminates pride and is the root of respect. It's a jewel and a treasure. Like hands, it is the basis of gathering virtue. It is the best of feet for going to liberation. So therefore, persons of intelligence rely on the guidance of faith. Virtues won't arise in people who have no faith, just as green sprouts do not grow from seeds which have been scorched by fire. Geshe Dontompa one time said to Atisha had gone from India at the insistence of Aryatara, who spoke to him at Bodh Gaya. He went there to help restore the teachings, which had become a bit degenerate in the almost three centuries since when they started in Tibet. And Geshe Dontompa, who himself was regarded as a very, very great, maybe emanation of Avalokiteshvara, said, in Tibet, there are many who are meditating and practicing, yet they're not attaining any special good qualities. So then Atisha said to him, all the significant and insignificant good qualities that are pertaining to the Mahayana arise from relying on a guru. You Tibetans only think of gurus as being common people. How could good qualities arise? Then again, when someone asked the elder in a loud voice, Atisha, please give an instruction. He said, aha, my hearing is very good. For me to give personal instructions, you need faith, faith, faith. Thus, faith is extremely important. Faith in the Buddha, Dhamma, Sangha, faith in karma, faith in the Four Noble Truths. However, here we are speaking also of faith in the Guru. With regard to how disciples should view their gurus, the Vajrapani Abhishek Mahatantra says, if you would ask how disciples should view masters, then I would answer they should view them just as they view the Bhagavan Buddha. So if we see the Guru as Buddha, then we receive the blessing of the Buddha. If we see the Guru as an ordinary person who goes to the toilet, makes caca, sometimes has bad breath and picks his nose or her nose, then we're not going to receive many blessings, from that kind of person. From that person, if we only focus on the faults and the fact that sometimes, even though I've been a good boy the previous day, the Guru doesn't even look at me during the teachings and keeps on looking at someone who I know has been a bad boy or girl, or whom I think, So we make all these kind of assumptions based on our bias and our sense of impoverishment and so forth. And therefore we start disparaging the Guru and getting dispirited and lose track. And if it's a real Mahayana Guru who cares for us, actually, if we develop such an attitude, it's very negative karma for us. So keep the master's good qualities in mind. Don't seize upon their faults. Keeping their good qualities in mind, you will reach attainment. Seizing upon their faults, you will not. There's a long section on that and tremendous amount of teachings on this. But of course, as His Holiness Dalai Lama says, we have to be careful with these teachings because some gurus are not really valid gurus and they don't have the benefit of their disciples really in their hearts, and often they are exploiters of students. Some of the really bad ones are just there to exploit, the real charlatans. So then we have to be very careful, and maybe we see them as guru for our sake, but we're also aware on the conventional level that these people are also obviously not having all the qualification or don't appear to, and are actually harming people. So therefore I have to be very careful. So it's a balancing act. If you want more on this, then Dzongsa Rinpoche has written an amazing book, which is quite long on the Guru drinks bourbon. The Guru drinks bourbon, B-O-U-R-B-O-N. Yeah. The Guru drinks bourbon. That has got so much on Guru, how to be a Guru, how to recognize a Guru, how to depend on a Guru, etc., etc. Anyway, there's so much, and then how to rely on the Guru, respect material things, service, practice. And the Guru most appreciates practice, but of course also service, because if there's no one to serve the Guru, then there are no centers, no organization, no means to help a lot of people. So of course, the Guru relies on people who serve the centers and so forth. But the best is practice, real practice that brings realizations, because then one can become a bodhisattva and a Buddha and be of incredible, unbelievable benefit to other people. Yeah. So, of course, giving material things, wonderful to give to the Guru. And often the Guru needs things. you give things to the guru, then the guru will pass it on to people who really need it, actually. Many things you give to the guru, he just passes on, because he doesn't need a lot of stuff. But if he does, he'll use it in the best way, right? We use the word guru for whomever is pleased by practice, doesn't give even the slightest consideration for material gifts. Offering to the guru, offering hot water to the guru, like some people do at Tushita. This is, of course, a very great thing. Or even to a charlatan like me who's conducting this Zoom session. Respecting and serving with body, speech, and minds. This means such physical actions as bathing, massaging, cleaning dirt from the body, nursing, as well as vocal actions, pointing out the Guru's good qualities. Then practicing according to the Guru's words. Yeah. So the Jatakamala, Garland of Birth Story, says, the worship that you should do in return for my help is to practice in accordance with my instructions. If you cannot reasonably do as the Guru has instructed, excuse yourself with soothing words. Of course, the Guru may then say, no, you must do it. So then you have to decide, are you going to disobey your Guru? Because if the Guru knows you well and knows you absolutely cannot do something, then the Guru will say, okay, take that. But if the Guru feels you're being lazy, if the clairvoyant Guru knows you're being lazy, then they might well say, no, you have to do this. You know, I'm not going to let you retire, resign, whatever you want to do, you know, go somewhere else. Yeah, okay. How long should you rely on a Guru? Bodhava says this, with each student who comes to me, my burden increases. With each who leaves it, it decreases. If you stay apart from the Guru, it is not beneficial. Therefore, practice for a long time at a moderate distance. Of course, now we often have to practice from a great distance. And say your Guru passes away, like has now happened for many of us. Then we come to the question of what is the Guru? And Rinpoche reminded us many times while he was alive, what is the real Guru? The real Guru is the bliss and emptiness of our own minds. The ultimate Guru is the bliss and the emptiness of our own mind, or our own Buddha nature, you could say. That is the real Guru. The Dharmakaya, the body of truth, that is the Guru. And as Longso Rinpoche says very eloquently also in his book, Not for Happiness, in the section on Guru devotion, he says, it's a mistake to think that your mind has ever been separate from the mind of the Guru. It has never been separate from the mind of the Guru. It's just we're not in touch with that level of mind yet, so we think we're separate. So therefore we need practices like Guru Yoga and all that, which we must do, because then it makes us feel more close to the Guru. And one day our mind and the Guru's will be inseparable, like Marpa and Milarepa's mind in some sense became inseparable, because the ultimate basis of their holy minds was the bliss and emptiness of the clear light consciousness, the Buddha nature. So that is the ultimate Guru, from which we are never, ever separate in one sense. It's just that it is not yet uncovered. It's covered over with all of the garbage that we've accumulated, and the dualistic mind, the subject-object divide, which is always seems to be there. This is quoting Zongso Rinpoche. Guru Yoga, generally speaking, so Guru Yoga means union with the Guru, right? This Guru Yoga helps us develop and increase devotion, but the very heart of the practice is to mix our mind with the mind of the Guru. It's not limited to mind, it encompasses our entire being, body, speech, and mind. Therefore, we should try to mix every part of ourselves with our Guru, from our identity, physical form, the sounds we make, right down to our senses of smell and taste. Once again, language could be misleading. In this case, mix automatically implies that there are two separate entities that exist and that it's possible to mix them. But as the great Bodhisattva Samantabhadra tells us, the essence of mind is by nature empty, as is the essence of all phenomena. Although it may look as though there are two separate entities to be mixed. So since the outer Guru is none other than a reflection of your devotion, this mixing process is rather more profound than the mere combination of two ingredients. You are, in fact, establishing the understanding that there never was a separate entity, a guru, with whom to mix your mind. In other words, your guru and your mind have never been separate. That's a pretty amazing statement. But it's been made by a very amazing Lama, and it's echoed in slightly different words by many other teachers. But of course, right now, we have many, many different ways of connecting with the guru, don't we? And there are many people who are heartbroken and who will be crying and so forth every day when they remember Lama Zopa Rinpoche. And that's good. It's very good. We shouldn't look down on these people at all as being, oh, like babies. No way. It said Lama Yeshe cried a lot when his root guru, Trijang Rinpoche, passed away, who was the junior tutor of His Holiness the Dalai Lama when they were in Tibet. Lama Yeshe cried a lot. So, there is that deep, heartfelt connection. But of course, Lama Yeshe had integrated the ultimate guru in his own mind. But yeah, he cried, And Lama Zopa Rinpoche was so sad when Lama Yeshe passed away, and so forth. But ultimately, we are not separate from the guru. And this is wonderful news. And then we can even more appreciate the diversity of conventional truth, because we have so many. If you've had more than one guru, often you can see wonderful contrasts between them. Like when I first met the Lamas, Lama Yeshe was big and bubbly, so I kind of associate him with Laurel, and Lama Zopa Rinpoche with he's hardy, and Lama Zopa Rinpoche is like Laurel, thin and kind of very, So they were almost like the Laurel and Hardy team of, where one would be so ascetic that it was scary. And when you have a very thin, slim, ascetic body and big bulging eyes from your practice, like Rinpoche had in those days, it was almost scary, I tell you. There were several people who were scared of Rinpoche in those days because of Rinpoche's appearance. And Lama Yeshe was big and bubbly, teddy bear, mother-father figure, bubbly and laughing and hugging everyone and so forth, whoever they were, men, women, children, or adults, and everybody loved him. Then later, when Lama Yeshe died, it's very interesting, then Lama Zopa Rinpoche took on some of the qualities of Lama Yeshe, began to round out and laugh even more and take on some of that in a way. So the late Kyabje Lama Zopa Rinpoche, if you look at the photos, very different from the early Lama Zopa Rinpoche, as it should be. So then, but you see, if we just identify with the physical form, then it could be problematic. We have to, we can rejoice in that, but not forget that the real guru is not just the physical form. But certainly the great lamas know how to use their physical appearance and their way of talking and their mannerisms to, you could say, enchant the students. And different students, of course, enchanted by different things, different modes of behavior. So Rinpoche could look incredibly serious and sad, incredibly so, but sometimes laughing so much, laughing. And then Anyway, you should watch the videos of Rinpoche teaching in the different stages of his life. And the latest round of amazing teachings were when COVID was full on and Rinpoche was safely ensconced at Kapan and giving so many teachings from there, surrounded by teddy bears and stuffed toy animals, which was his way of, I see that as his kind of his mother-like and infectious childlike side, which one often might think wasn't there if one just listened to his other teachings, which were very, so ascetic. He was so much a part of the ascetic tradition and so much emphasis on the basic teachings, on renunciation, proper reliance on the guru, death and impermanence, karma, and suffering, and so forth. But he taught everything. I mean, his Bodhi teach. Ask Jan, who must have received teachings on bodhicitta, from Lama Zopa Rinpoche several times. What did you think of those teachings that Rinpoche used to give, Jan, on bodhicitta in the well, not just the early years, but any years? Would you like to share anything on that or any other teachings that Rinpoche gave? Briefly, since you've known Rinpoche since when? What year? Can you remember? You were in Singapore then? You'll have to unmute yourself.
I've known Rinpoche since, yes, about 1988. So a long time. And yes, of course, in the beginning, my dull mind, and I even dared to say one day to Rinpoche, my mind is very chaotic. I don't take it all in well. But over the years of listening to all the teachings, the bodhicitta side of it really came home. And then, you know, through, like you, being asked to help with various things, putting it into practice was one of the most joyful things I was able to do. And
hard
hopefully,
as well?
Pardon?
Hard
Yes.
as well, or just joyful?
Extremely hard, extremely hard. As you know, working as I did with you, alongside you at times in the early days of the projects in India, it was very difficult. And but somehow Rinpoche's, I don't know, voice in my head would you get down and think, oh, I can't do this, and the next day would get up and go again. And because I think of the teachings that he gave us. And recently, Venerable Children said, for people who are really having a hard time processing Rinpoche's passing, it's like dialing up an emergency number, but except you dial up Rinpoche in your head and you ask him for advice, but really you're asking him yourself. But the answers come. Yes. So that I think is
especially
good.
for those of us who've asked a lot of questions in the past, so we know in our hearts what the answer is going to be. Often it's not the one we want, but
no, definitely
makes us work harder. And he helped your husband and your son so much, right? And so much help, so many pujas, so many things Rinpoche did.
Even just before Rinpoche died, they were saying prayers for my very sick husband in Rinpoche's house, through the kindness of, you know, Rinpoche giving the instructions for Roger to ask them to do puja, like prayers every day for a month. Amazing help over the years like that. It's just incredible.
He helped the landlord here before he died. Tremendous help to Mr. Bandari. Because Mr. Bandari loved Rinpoche very much. They had a good connection. And Rinpoche helped so much with advice with which acupuncturists to go to in Delhi, for example, because we gave a list of names. Then Rinpoche chose, and the acupuncturist was really good for Mr. Bandari on many levels, also as a kind of a friend. Very nice, apparently, very helpful. And then helped him while he was dying. And apparently Ranji Bandari died at a very auspicious time while they were doing all these pujas in Nepal. Kadrola, Mingyur Rinpoche, Lama Zopa Rinpoche, all of them were doing puja. So he died at a very, very good time, and Rinpoche helped him, I think, right through, probably through, you know, into the Bardo, into the intermediate state, I would imagine. Helped him very much. And helped his wife, Brahma, who's still alive, to rid her old dwelling, well, 1966 or whatever it was built, but rid her dwelling of obvious some kind of spirit disturbance or harm, because lights were going on and off without anyone switching them on and off. Weird things were happening. And then Rinpoche did a puja at her request and everything stopped. So she has great respect and love for Rinpoche, but so he helped them. He helped everyone. My uncle has a photo of Rinpoche up in his house in the United States, because he had one short session with Rinpoche and just liked him so much, and Rinpoche was so kind to him. He was sad when he heard Rinpoche had passed away. So that constant, just non-stop, isn't it?
Very much.
Ability to switch from one person to another and tell each person what they needed to do, right? What was good for them to do, and approach them in the way that, well, that they needed. Because in the early days, it was mainly Westerners, right? But then Rinpoche had so many Chinese and other students came on board. He was able to, took everyone on board. And of course, the Chinese students became some of the greatest students and supporters, as you know, with your connection with Singapore and eastwards. Amazing, amazing. What else did you want to share? Was there anything else? Any incident for people?
It just sometimes just something's very light, but one time I was in Dharamsala and he told me I should go home, and without elaborating, but somehow I knew I needed to. But I flew through to Singapore, and at the airport he spotted me, and the only word he said was home, very strongly. Because he knew what was ahead of me, and I had no clue. But somehow, of course, I would not disobey at that level. I just knew Rinpoche's love for me at that level was so amazing that, and of course his clairvoyance, he could see what was going to, evolve, and I needed to go home. And right now, I had the wish to go to Kopan to be part of the purchase right now. But again, I dialed up Rinpoche in my head and asked, should it be more helpful to go home or come to Kopan? And strongly the word home came in. So, yes, I'm just so grateful I met Rinpoche and the Lamas over my life. And I came to Buddhism late in life, in my 40s. So it wasn't something I knew about as a young person at all. But the karma ripened, and then I was, shall we say, in the thick of it, helping Rinpoche form the center in Singapore and many projects we helped in India. So I think,
I could just say we got the land for the school in Bodh Gaya. It's all many other things. For
many things.
Clinic, for the monks of Drepung, so many. I mean, it would be a long list of projects Jan has helped with. How do you think your son can be helped to link up with Rinpoche in the head, as you put it, to dial up Rinpoche? You say he's very upset, your son.
Yes, right now I'm just standing in with loving thoughts around him. He's not able to take in much at the moment, but I think just that support and playing the Lama's chanting so he can actually hear it in the house, having Rinpoche's photograph where he sits down to eat. I'm hopeful that, his great connection with Rinpoche will, bring peace to his mind. I'm sure it will.
Thank you, Jan, very much.
Thank you.
Maybe we could ask some other people if they have anything they would like to share about the topic or about their time with Rinpoche, or anything connected with the topic of Guru devotion, Rinpoche. Don't be shy. Sujitji, did you ever meet Lama Zopa Rinpoche?
Yes, Kabirji, thrice.
Oh, okay. What was your
the last time being in January this year in Bodh Gaya at Truth Institute.
Oh, yeah.
When you told him that I was going to be a trustee.
Oh, that's right. Yes. Yeah. What was his reaction? Did he have a
Yes, he actually patted on my left cheek thrice, saying thank you thrice, and it was so gentle, and I was laughing and he was laughing.
Very good. Oh, that's great. That's great. Yeah, good. So be careful. That means a lot of work to be done.
Yes, I'm sure.
Each tap is 1 decade.
That's fine.
Well, that has to be part, kind of thing.
Yeah, but it's very, very interesting that the early years that you recall, my I told Nilashi the other day as well
Mm.
that I would always remember and aspire to the gentleness that I always saw in the Rinpoche.
Mm. Mm.
He was so very. The first time I saw him was in 2015, 8 years back,
Oh,
and even in that meeting, the gentleness.
where was that? Because I didn't know you then, right?
You did. You know me since 2014 August.
Mm. Thank you. Thank you.
yeah,
Good.
yeah. So it was at Tushita Delhi.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. And where was that? That you
In
mentioned?
Tushita Delhi.
Okay. Right. Right. Okay. Time flies. Goodness me. Yeah. 9 years. Good. Good. Thank you, Sujitji. Anybody else? Elaine, did you ever meet Rinpoche?
I'm afraid I didn't have that merit, Kabirji. I've never
Oh, no.
met him. I've only always seen him in pictures and listened to him teach in videos, but not in real life. I hope when he comes back, I meet him.
That's what I think. Yeah, we're hoping for that. I think it will happen for sure. For sure. There's no way someone like that would not come back, I think, unless there is some very powerful reason not to just yet. But of course, he has to. He knows. He took on some of the most difficult, I think, students imaginable. And his work, apart from that, his work remains unfinished. So Congress are going to need, some of the younger people will need a kick in the pants 20 years down the line. So he'll have to come back and keep them going. Us oldies will start dying out very soon now. Some of us already have been. And in 20 years, who's going to continue his work? So he has to come back and captain the ship in some ways, isn't it? Definitely. And by the time he's 20, 25, hopefully he would pack a good punch, as it were. He would be able to get people to get in line and get on with it. It's hard to know. It's hard to know. Depends on our collective karma also as students, what shape the emanation takes. Yeah. Okay, maybe that's good for this session or not? Good enough?
Yes.
I'm just looking at a change of name someone has put on a WhatsApp group. Okay, so there's some dedication prayers, as you know, for Rinpoche, the swift return. So although we have never been separate from the Guru, we still pray for the swift return because people like me, we need a physical manifestation to teach and to inspire, because otherwise we get distracted, disenchanted. We need someone there at the end of the phone or in front of us saying, do this, don't do that, laughing at us, berating us, whatever else they do, kicking us. So just for auspiciousness, I'll read the prayer also from His Holiness the 14th Dalai Lama, and then the beautiful, very heartfelt prayer written by Kadro Seringma, who's a very accomplished, wonderful lady practitioner, who's been very close to His Holiness and to Rinpoche and other Rinpoches for many years. So it's actually, I think it was sent to everyone on the WhatsApp, but just listen. It's nice to listen to. Fearless teacher, an assembly of children of the victorious ones, Shravakas, Pratyeka Buddhas, the virtuous Losang, referring to Lama Tsongkhapa, the fathers and sons, together with your lineage, all the objects of refuge of the infinite lands, please now bestow the virtue and goodness to accomplish this prayer. In holding and spreading the Muni's precious and complete teachings through explanation and practice, You wore the armor of patience, the Zopa, that is never discouraged. Incomparable, venerable Guru, to you I make request, sole gateway through which all benefit and happiness emerge, while striving exclusively for the welfare of the Buddha's teachings and the mother living beings. You suddenly departed to peace. At this, I lost hope. Nevertheless, through the undeceiving truth of the blessings of the ocean of the three jewels and the great waves of the mind generation or bodhicitta of the children of the victorious ones, the bodhisattvas, may the smile of a new reincarnation swiftly beam in glory for fortunate disciples. And then the swift return prayer of the Supreme Lord of Refuge, Lama Zopa Rinpoche, by Kadro Seringma. Guru, think of me. Guru, consider me. Gracious Guru, care for me. Root Guru, most gracious and kind, do not deprive us of your compassionate refuge. Listen and consider this heartfelt prayer made by a tormented disciple. Guru, you embody the blessings of the Buddhas of the three times. You may rest in great bliss, equipoised within the dhatu of unimpeded luminosity. Yet the playful dance of your loving compassion can emanate in myriad ways the swift appearance of your magical wisdom, the Rupakaya. The time has come for you to care for us once again with your affectionate compassion. I invoke you, call upon you, I implore you on behalf of all beings, arise, arise, arise from the Dharmakaya. Do not rest in Khechara or other pure celestial realms. Rather, to benefit the Buddha's teachings and all living beings, swiftly return to this southern continent to spread the Buddha Dhamma of study and realization. Quickly return to guide us poor, wretched beings. Such is the desperate cry of us, your disciples. Return so that we may actually behold your presence and receive the blessings of your enlightened body, speech, and mind. All violations, errors, mistakes, and broken samaya that we have made in relation to your spontaneously present awakened body, speech, and activity through our being baffled, confused, and conceiving things in erroneous ways, we confess within the luminous emptiness of your three kayas. Of everything auspicious, the supreme auspiciousness, may there be the auspiciousness of emptiness and compassion conjoined, and the auspiciousness of a timely meeting between master and disciple. Through the force of the truth of unchanging suchness, may the unmistaken incarnation return quickly. This lament was made by me, a Dakini with pure faith and samaya, her eyes filled with tears of sorrow. May these wishes of a beggar woman be fulfilled through the blessings of the deities of the three roots. Perception, its object, and the act of perceiving all dissolve within the expanse, the blissful clarity of suchness. So with that, the seed syllable of the heart of the perfection of wisdom, Padula ends her swift return prayer. So we in our own way can dedicate that Rinpoche returns in a manner which will benefit many, many, many beings and help us to discover our own innate Guru, ultimate Guru, quickly so that we can benefit beings in these degenerate times, challenging times, where war, famine, and disease and climate out of control threaten our very existence. May we never be separated from authentic teachings and authentic Mahayana and Vajrayana gurus. May all the gurus who still remain with us have long and healthy lives, especially His Holiness the Dalai Lama, Kyabje Lama Rinpoche, Padrula, Nyingma Rinpoche, Dzongsa Rinpoche, all the great lamas of all the traditions. May they have long and healthy lives. May all their holy wishes be fulfilled. May all the prayers be engaged in at Kapan Monastery and other centers around the world for Lama Zopa Rinpoche's quick reincarnation be fulfilled. May all the students who are downhearted and feeling forlorn and bereft, may they find sustenance and inspiration from the inner guru. Meanwhile, we all develop undeceiving bodhicitta, great compassion, and more and more insight into ultimate truth, emptiness, conjoined with dependent arising. Thank you very much, everyone, for your patience and for joining us.
Thank you.
See some of you maybe later next week. I'll be available again on Thursday. But the first 2 days of the week, I just keep looking at the postings, okay? It's not sorted yet. Thank you so much. Thanks, Jan, for joining. And
Thank you.
Pranam Kabirji.
Pranam.
Thank you.